going to go to our ship here. So like I said, it's the Brigantine. Going to go to manage ship here. And our furniture. Alright, so what we're going to be using on the Brigantine right now for the flood damage, we're going to be using the water tank as your primary. Reduce crew stamina depletion by 50% while bracing. Increase stamina recovery by 20%. We're going to be using the iron cladding station, which will increase the damage from ramming the people, and that's going to be causing the flooding. All right, and the reason why we use the water tank is because we're going to be doing a lot of bracing when enemies are attacking you, uh, because we're going to have the armor on the ship, which is I think the whaling ward that that shoots poison gases every time that you block a shot. So we'll check that out in a bit. We're going to be using the Culverin Works, which increase the elemental damage multiplier of the Culverin. Uh, the Lead Kettle for increased duration of the flood effect on enemy ships by 10%. So that's going to be the point of the game here is to make sure that they stay flooded, that they're flooded, and they stay flooded for as long as you can. And the Poton schematic gives you a 10% to weak points for the fleet, but also an increase 10% for your weapons. So with that, we're going to go check our armor. So like I said, we're going to be using the Ratful Ward, not the Whaling, the Ratful Ward. If you look at the stats here, we got explosive resistance 25, flooding 25, fire 15, and piercing 15. But the perk is what we're looking for here is the Venomous Vengeance. So when your ship gets hit while bracing, and that is why we need uh, that extra the 50% decrease while bracing. A noxious cloud is released around your ship that deals 3,000 poison damage and depletes the crew stamina. So it has a cooldown of 10 seconds. So it's going to be good for PvP when you're going after people in PvP. They're going to be shooting. You're going to be bracing. It's going to deplete their stamina. You're going to be able to do some crew attacks and shooting with your guns to do as much damage as possible. So it's going to be point of the game is going to be to ram the ship, shoot at a distance, then ram the ship, causing the flooding, and then using your cannons, which brings us to weapons. So what we're going to be using is the carronade. I know that the carronade has been giving a bad rap because of the damage that they were doing, but they are good for something. So if you get your hands on 3 of those, which thank you to Mr. Cryptic from Banished Souls, gave me one of them to complete the 3-piece that I needed. So we're going to be using that on the bow, on the port, and on the starboard side. We're going to be using the carronade. And if you look at the perks, it's got Riptide. So adds a 50% of damage as severe damage when target is flooded. All right. And it also causes flooding 1, so it adds an extra 10% of damage as flooding damage. So it's going to be on top of your ramming, on top of your auxiliary that's going to cause some flooding. Um, on top of that, you're going to get an extra 10% to flooded as flooded damage to keep it flooded. And then in the back, um, I simply use fire bombards. You can use, if you want to have another carronade, you can use that. Um, Whatever you want to put on the back, it's fine. So I just decided to put some fire bombards on there for the extra, explosive damage uh, uh, to cause an extra 20% damage as explosive damage for a blast radius. So we're going to be testing this here. If you guys are wondering about the cosmetic that I am using on this ship, it is The where is it here? It is the Eye of Horror set. I think it's really sexy. It looks really good, and because it's a flooding damage, flooding water, it's green, bluish water. It works. All right, so let's go and see how this ship does in battle.